Welcome back to episode 6 of Walk and Talk Wednesdays. Got something different lined up today, which will be a nice change. We're going to look a little bit more wider, so it's not just going to be full sport, but there will be a touch of sport in there as usual. Positive news for a lot of people out there. We've gone from the cold. It's a little bit better than it used to be. I mean, even though Favour looks a little bit cold, I'm wearing a gilet for once and not wearing a full jacket, so we must be going in the right direction weather-wise.
Same.
Nice. So, right, introduce yourself, Favour. Give us a lowdown on where you're walking today.
Hi guys, my name is Favour and I am VP for Activities and I am currently walking around a park close to my house. So yeah, I live in CVT area, so that's kind of in Coventry. So I'm kind of doing a little walk around town today.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Don't give them too much information, Favour. Don't say
Yeah.
where you are too much.
No.
Well, brilliant. Thanks for joining us today. And hopefully, as I said, we're going to have a bit of a different discussion to normal. We're going to touch upon kind of Green Week. I think it's one of the topics we want to discuss. Brit 2021 and sustainability, but also that well-being and part of your role and how it all kind of links. So how long have you been in your position, your role?
So as an officer, I've been in my role for about 2 years now. So this is my second year as a SAB, and but working with CUSU, I have kind of been a rep for 2 years while I was studying. So altogether with CUSU, I think I've been involved for about 4 years now. So
Wow, that's impressive.
pretty
That's
long
impressive. You
time.
must be doing something right to be hanging along that long.
I hope so.
No, I'm sure you are. But so 2 years in the role, how have you found it? What's your sort of reflections so far? Is this going to be your last year?
Yeah, so this is currently going to be my last year as a SAB and with CUSU as well. So yeah, it has been an interesting journey, ups and downs, chaotic days, non-chaotic days. But here and there, I've picked up great skills that I know that I can take further on. I've met a lot of good and unique people throughout my journey, made new friends, colleagues. So yeah, altogether, it's literally been like basically, you know, the way what university feels like. You have good days, you have bad days. That's kind of what it's been like. So,
Yeah, I think that sums it up pretty nicely, I imagine. And I think a lot of SABs and a lot of colleagues will probably feel quite similar to that. You have good days and you have bad days, but along the way, there's some good experiences in there. So 2 years. Why did you go for the second year? What was the reason behind that, out of interest?
Okay, so in my first year, so I always say to people that like your first year as a SAB while working, you're also learning. On the way, you're doing a lot of learning. You're kind of learning what you should be doing, where you should be doing, where you should be going. So the first year for me was really about learning what the role was about. And towards the end of my first year, I had quite a few goals on my manifesto that I felt like I hadn't finished. So I was like, there's no harm in trying and going again. If I get the position again, it means that I can finish those things that I started or do it better than I did last year. So yeah, that's kind of what it was. So it was just me trying to go through it again to make sure that this time I can actually use the things that I learned while in my first year as a SAB.
Yeah, that's a good message for anyone, isn't it? You do spend a lot of your, I think there's a quote out there around employment, which is quite similar. You spend a lot of your first year just getting up to speed and kind of learning along the way. And then year 2, 3 comes along, you can start to kind of reflect and adapt and also move things forward. So that sounds really positive. Have there been any learnings or sort of key take-homes along the 2 years so far, or some sort of midway reflections that you've come up with?
Yes, I think the biggest one for me is I will always say, and this is like a tip I give anyone, you can apply it to university as well, is ask questions, ask for help, because most times you'd be surprised like how quicker your work goes because there's someone who's experienced that before who can easily point you in the right direction, and that way you save time on researching or trying to find the best method because you have things you can already try while still trying to find a method that works for you. So yeah, asking questions, asking for help, because there's always someone who has either done it or done similar. So it's just easier to build off of an existing like foundation rather than always starting from scratch. So yeah, that was the biggest takeaway for me.
Yeah, completely agree. And it's often a really simple thing, isn't it? And that often gets
Yeah.
overlooked. And I think there's a little bit of pride in that sometimes as well, isn't there? That you kind of think, well, I can't ask that question because someone might think I don't know what I'm doing. It's stupid, isn't
Yeah.
it? Really, ask the question, and a little bit of help and guidance often gets things moved along quicker. So that's a great bit of feedback for anyone in going into SAB positions, but also anyone in roles really, or any kind of job. So I like that one. So let's move on. Let's get on to, you've got a really big campaign on at the moment, haven't you? That's keeping you really busy. So
Yeah.
let's get on to that. Would you like to explain it a little bit more?
No problem. So Green Week is an annual week that different universities adapt. So it's all about creating a sustainability themed week. So it's a themed campaign around sustainability and how you can embed it in different aspects of your life, in your education, at work. So this week for us at Coventry University is Green Week. And this year we are collaborating with University of Warwick and University of Warwick SU as well. So
Okay.
yeah, it's quite a big campaign that both universities and students' union work on. Last year we had a chance to participate, and this year we're doing it even bigger than last year. So throughout the week there'll be different things. Today's motivational education Monday. Tomorrow is Tasty Tuesday, so each day is themed with a different thing. Wednesday, obviously, today is going to be the big one for us, together with Brit 2021 and sustainable travel and so much going on as well. So yeah, and
Brilliant.
if you wanted to find out more, you can visit our website, obviously CUSU.org, and you can find out more about Green Week on there as well.
Brilliant. I like the plug. It's important. It's important to get that information out there. But so
Yeah.
connecting the dots a little bit. Obviously, we're doing Brit 2021 Challenge, or Sport Commentary doing that, and the university and CUSU are helping as well.
Yeah.
And that challenge is basically about sort of well-being, isn't it? But it's about getting moving as well. So it's that combination. How's Green Week linking to the kind of well-being conversation, but also keeping active and keeping moving? What's the kind of links there that you've found so far?
So the links we've like found out so far, just like personally and like in general with research, is that for one, we have what we call the SDG goals, the Sustainable Development Goals, and number 3 on there is good health and good well-being. So it is something that when someone's in the right frame of mind, when you stay healthy, it does mean you live a more sustainable life, and you're also including sustainable practices. I mean, little things like little sentences like an apple a day keeps the doctor away. That is getting your good health up. So yeah, and also together with sustainable travel and exercising and walking and cycling being a big part of sustainable travel as well. It just includes keeping fit with sports and staying active to keep on top of your health and all of that. So a lot of the little things we do in our life, we don't realize that they are sustainable practices, and there are ways that we are keeping sustainable as people, and also like just in general, just those little tips and tricks as well.
No, I definitely agree with that. And I think you make a really good point around how mood and kind of attitude can affect those things as well. Like you said, if you're not
Yeah.
in a very good sort of frame of mind at the moment, you're not going to probably want to go out and do a bit of exercise or want to make some conscious decisions to help others.
Yeah.
But then they're intertwined, aren't they? So by helping
Yeah.
others and by going out and doing a bit more, by being a bit more proactive with some sort of sustainability ideas, yeah, you're benefiting yourself, but also benefiting your others, which makes you feel better, and
Yeah.
they're all kind of intertwined. So that's really interesting to hear that you've managed to kind of look at the two as two things together rather than two separate things.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is a point that it's always tried to raise within sustainability, that like um, keeping fit is also a way of improving your well-being. Doing that walk can improve your mood. and making sure you're taking breaks within, like, obviously now we're in a digital space where you're always in front of screens and computers. Making sure you're taking those little breaks to do a little exercise. All of that is really even more important now for me, especially in 2021.
Definitely, I can imagine. So you touched upon it there. Any personal things that you're doing at the moment, with in line with Green Week, but also just kind of for your general health and well-being?
Yeah, so with regards to, like, obviously just starting the job as in last year as a SAB, one of the things that I really picked up on is walking a lot and taking those walks, walking to work, walking back, trying to incorporate as much like exercise, because like obviously when you start working, sometimes if you're at an office desk job, it's really hard to remember to take those breaks, to stand up, make sure you move. So that's something I really learned on the job, taking those breaks, walking around, still taking in those little like spaces. So that's something I'm doing personally as well, even from home, because obviously now I don't have the time to walk and back. So sometimes in the morning I'll take a walk with my sister, also including friends and family as well. I mean, walk to talk is a good way. Make sure that maybe if you're going for your morning walk and your friends live in another city, call them on FaceTime, have your morning conversation with them while taking a walk together. So things like that is kind of what I've been doing so far, taking walks with my friend, but through the screen, obviously, since we can't
Yeah.
physically walk together. So
No,
yeah, walking.
definitely. You've done my sales pitch for me there, Favour. I think, I know, but it's so true, and it does help your mental well-being, and it's something I've tried to also increase throughout this time. Obviously, we're doing the formal or more formal ones now, where we're having
Yeah,
conversations with colleagues and SABs and alumni and students, but also myself just picking up the phone or a bit of FaceTime and go and have a bit of a chat with someone whilst going
yeah,
out for a walk. And that, like you said, it links to your general mood and well-being. I feel better having these conversations with you, learning a little bit about what you're doing, but I'm
yeah.
also outside exercising as well. So I think that's really important. So yeah, Brick 2021 challenge has gone pretty well so far, and I'm glad to see that you've helped out by doing a little bit of mileage as well,
Yeah.
which is really good. And yeah, it's nice that you've used it also for a tool. Any other thoughts then, sort of for this Green Week? Things coming up that we need to watch out for?
Yeah, so on different like platforms such as Instagram, we are also gonna have a movie night tomorrow. So if you are free after uni, another way to keep up your well-being, meet new people through teleparty. You can tune in as well, and throughout the week there'll be different activities as well. So if you go on the website, you can find all the details, sign up for the different ones that you'd like as well. But yeah, just in general, like just getting involved with CUSU in general, because obviously different activities will continue after Green Week as well. But yeah,
No, I completely agree, and that's actually a very good point. We're now moving into this time of like transition, aren't we? We're coming out of lockdown potentially, and I don't want to count our chickens too early and get too excited. But we are moving back to some sort of normality or some kind
normality,
of
yeah.
new normal, as they keep calling it. So, have you got any sort of tips and tricks for people out there when they're sort of transitioning back? And this can be sustainable stuff as well. So looking at your travel or looking at kind of, yeah, going back to work. You mentioned it earlier. You always used to walk to work, which I think is fantastic if you can do so, or get out on the bike or get out on any
Yeah.
kind of form of movement that isn't sitting in a car or sitting in traffic where possible. But also, yeah, around mood and kind of well-being and ways to keep kind of sane in this transition back towards, yeah, normal life. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think one thing to remember is that a tip is to take it slow. Like the transition, you don't have to immediately go back to how it was. Take it slow, because sometimes when you snap the body just back to how it used to be, it can affect you. So take the transition slow. If it's first trying to go to just shops or seeing one or two friends, so that you also, if you're a person like me, I get anxious easily. So like, for example, going to not seeing anyone to being in a crowd of 100 people will freak me out. So taking that transition slowly back to normality, so that you don't feel like you're doing or overwhelming yourself too much. I think another great tip, sustainability wise, would be obviously we'll still be wearing face covering, so try to get more sustainable fabric based face covering, so we're not creating more litter, more waste, disposing things you use around this period more consciously. Just be more intentional about the things you do to keep yourself and your family, your friends, and keep all of us safe as well. So yeah, my little tips are just take it slow, take it each day as it comes. Yeah, um, take the transition personally and just make it personalized. Do the little you can, and yeah, just enjoy the process back to some sort of new normal, I guess.
No, there's some brilliant points in there. I particularly like the kind of the disposable. We're in a bit of a disposable generation, aren't we? It's so much easier just to buy new and chuck it away and buy something else. So
Yeah,
I think that's a very good point around, particularly there's some stuff that we now have to do and have to keep on our persons around, like you said, face masks and gloves or whatever. So I think that's a really good point and something we can definitely promote. And then that transition, like you said, take it slow and make it be personal for you. If you're being sort of pulled from pillar to post to do X, Y, Z because someone says that's what they want you to do, be a little bit
yeah.
selfish now, I think, and say, actually, I need to take this time to kind of move back to this or through this transitioning period. So, no, that's fantastic. Have you got any questions for us or for me or any
Yeah,
kind of final thoughts?
yes, so I wanted to ask similarly, like, what tips do you have for people going back? It could be about sports, could just be in general, because I think it's a good conversation to have, especially now that we're slowly transitioning back, both for students, for colleagues, for staff, for people working, anything.
Yeah, it's a good question. My biggest one, and it's something I prioritize amongst most things, is just communicating, and that's almost like this, isn't it?
Yeah,
You can see evidently I enjoy communicating with people, but I think it's got to be honest communication, isn't it? So similar to, like I said, if work are demanding X, Y, and Z, or work are not demanding is the wrong terminology, or pushing towards, or kind of saying we need this, we need X, Y, and Z, be open and honest and communicate how you feel with that. That doesn't mean be
yeah,
confrontational or rude or say you disagree necessarily, but just comment on your feelings, because I think that's
yeah.
important, and I'm sure CUSU would take that into account. So that's my
Hmm.
biggest one. I would say, yeah, be really honest in your communication, because down the line it's going to be beneficial for everyone involved, and it's going to help hopefully get a better result out of the end if you're more honest. So I think, yeah, communication, keeping honest with yourself, and like you said, around kind of transitioning slowly and communicating that with others. If you're uncomfortable, or if you're already aware that some situations are going to be more challenging for you, tell them. Be honest with your managers, be honest with the people you work with, and kind of just have those conversations. I know that can be difficult for some, but that would be one for me that I would definitely keep at the forefront of my priorities, is communicating honestly with people.
Yeah, no, that's very true. I think especially right now we need that more than ever, especially with social media and sometimes it being overwhelming. It's very useful to have honest conversations and communicate honestly. So I do agree.
Yeah, there's a lot going on at the moment in the world, isn't there? And I think it's very easy just to get kind of overwhelmed with a lot of stuff. So, yeah, keep honest and keep communicating with people. Definitely going to help. So, a couple of final questions from me, as I always ask. Looking back, you've been lucky or privileged, I suppose. It depends what word you want to use, to be in this position for 2 years, which I think is a fantastic
Yeah,
achievement. What's
thank you.
your biggest sort of individual learnings or biggest individual take homes that when you finish and leave CUSU, you're going to think back and go, do you know, that was fantastic, or I learned a lot there, or what's your kind of thoughts on that?
I think for me, I know this may sound cliche, but it's generally the ability to communicate, to have that, because we do different things. Today you're presenting, tomorrow you're doing a speech, next tomorrow you're doing a video conversation. So that uniqueness of KUSU giving you the opportunity to learn so many different communications through different platforms. You're writing an article, so I think that was the biggest one for me because it not only impacts my work life with like how to communicate with like colleagues or external people, but even my present life. Like I learned to the best way to communicate with my friends, because you also learn like inclusive forms of communications as well. So those things that you don't really think about, like, oh, certain words we use as slangs or jokes that are actually uncomfortable for a lot of people. So I think that is definitely one of my biggest takeaways, like being more intentional with how like I speak to people, forms of communicating, whether it's written, how I write certain stuff, certain things that may make people uncomfortable. So I think, yeah, that's one of the ones that impacted me the most, because it really does reflect in every area. So, and also, I think a big one would be the people. I got to experience so many different characters, so many different behaviors. I got to meet so many different types of people at so many different stages of their lives. Having those little conversations, you realize how different but similar people are. I
Yeah.
think that is it's so, it always blew my mind how like different every single person I've met, but so many similarities as well. So yeah, I would definitely. It's something that will always be at the back of my mind.
No, that's brilliant, and I think they're really good examples. And I would back that up by saying you're also a fantastic communicator yourself. So, I mean,
Thank you.
no more of an example of that is you instigated this conversation, actually, didn't you? So you kind of came to us and opened up the communication channels, and then look at us now. We're having a nice open conversation. And going back
Yeah.
to my point, my personal point around being honest and open, you do that as well. We're having a nice, honest sort of chat now, which is fantastic. So, one final question then.
Yeah.
We've talked positively, but what would be your kind of biggest, not regret, but kind of thing that you go, I wish I could do that again differently if I had my chance whilst during your 2 years in this role?
So work wise, I say building relationships with like students, especially societies. So I think that was one thing that I would definitely do better. Um, Especially as an activity stab, I think like that was one area that I lacked, having those like strong relationships with different societies and different society members. Um, yeah, I think that was definitely one of the biggest ones. It's still one of the ones that's like on my mind the most. But then personally, I will say one of the things that I would have done personally is try to be more actively involved in things. So like it doesn't have to relate to the role I do. Just get involved in as different many things that I physically can. Within my power, I think that would be a personal one. But work-wise, I think was definitely building that relationships with societies, which I think I did do quite enough if I evaluate myself. But yeah.
Yeah, well, it's good. It's good to reflect on those things, and I think the work one you picked is a really good one. Even if you were really proficient and kind of connected with everyone, it's probably something that you would always want to do more of because of your personality sort of traits. So I think that's brilliant. And then the second one, which is based around more your personal life, I completely agree. I think experiences are vital, aren't they? Because experiences get you everything, but they also get you opportunities to learn and grow and connect with others and all of that. And just experiences like this today, we're having this conversation for both of us, I find extremely beneficial. So yeah, seeking experiences is massively important. No, that's fantastic, Favour. I think, yeah, some really good conversations there, some great learnings around Green Week and sustainability, but also nice just to have a sort of an open catch up with you. Hopefully you found it enjoyable. And
I did definitely.
Brilliant. That's good. And we'll leave it there. So thank you for your time today, and we'll catch up soon.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Cheers. Bye.